You guys join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. I'm going to go, you guys have a copy of the agenda? Can I grab one?
So I'll do a roll call and then we do election.
Okay.
So Mr. Bassett.
Here.
Mr. Fenske. Here. Mr. Richard.
Here.
And Mr. Hunt.
Here.
You.
Okay, so first order of business is elections, and we'll look for the appointment of, or the officers' appointments and designations. So first we'll do the election of chairperson. Do we have a nomination? Is that a nomination?
I will nominate if you're amenable to it.
I am open to it.
I will nominate Mr. Richards for chairperson.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Roll call vote.
You can voice vote it if you.
Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Made it again. All right, next we'll do election of the vice chairperson. And I would make a motion for Rich Bassett, if he's open to it. Okay, seconds?
I will second
Heavy burden.
motion for Rich.
The vice is always the one that has to be the heavy.
Aye. A lot of work.
So all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, cool. Next, we'll move to appointments of secretary, and I'll make a motion to appoint Megan Vucevic and Ross Hillary. Second?
Second?
All in favor? Aye? Any opposed? Okay, and we'll move to appointment of recording secretary, and I'll make a motion for that to be Kay Prang and Kelly Luark.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next we'll move to designation of the BZA legal counsel. This one's gonna be dicey, for sure.
Open up for discussion.
Anyone in the crowd have any opinion? I will make a motion for that to be Craig DeVault. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next we'll do designation of the commission, legal publications, and I'll make a motion for that to be the Noblesville Times and the Current.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Cool. Good, okay. So next, I will make a motion, unless there's some discussion, to approve the meeting minutes from the last meeting of October 27th, 2022. Is there any discussion on that? Any seconds?
I'll second.
Good. I can't remember if we have to vote on that.
You can voice vote.
Yeah, just, okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Awesome, public hearing. Sorry you guys had to wait, I'm glad we got there. Let's start with, the first, I don't see the case number. But,
It's just a number, so it's the 103574.
yep, okay, so the 103574, if the petitioner would like to present. Yep, go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Andy Word, land use professional with a law firm of Church Hill Antrim with offices at 10765 Lantern Road here in Fishers. Here tonight on behalf of our client, Kirthi Srinivasan, who heads up the Vita Vidya Foundation and Cultural Center. Kirthi is also a Hindu priest. Foundation has just purchased this 1 acre parcel off of the Cynthia Ann Road. Their desire is to establish temporary quarters for the foundation, also a place to hold classes and worship service. Today, the building is a single-family residence. Should the board approve our petition, we have a number of steps that we will need to undertake before any activities can take place. Well, we'll have to plat the property, which includes dedication of right-of-way. Sidewalk will need to be constructed along Cynthia Ann. The residence will need to be remodeled to meet commercial building codes. We have a parking lot to build, and then there's sewer connection and annexation petition to be filed. These improvements are indicated on our concept plan that we made part of our petition. Our commitment tonight is to follow that concept plan with full construction documents should our request be approved. As your staff report indicates, all services and classes will be by appointment only, facilitated through our website. We anticipate 10, 15 people at one time during the week and 25 to 30 on weekends. There will be a resident priest living at the site. That individual will be responsible for caretaking of the premises. Planning staff has been very helpful to us in this process, particularly Brianna and Megan. We talked to Ross early on. Unfortunately, the recommendation is to deny. We respectfully disagree with that recommendation. It seems to center on a couple of points that we'd like to address. The first one is safety. The building is pretty close to Cincinnati Road, approximately 60 feet from the center of the road. With dedication of right-of-way, it pretty much leaves a zero front setback that would be existing. Certainly non-conforming with respect to your current standards, but dedication of right-of-way will not put the building any closer to travel lanes than it is today. There will be no outdoor activities associated with our use. Parking will be in the rear, as shown on the plan. We've been asked to construct a pedestrian path along Cynthia, so I'm not quite sure I agree with the safety concern. The other point the staff has outlined is that the property should develop with the Fall Creek Marketplace, which is a PUD that abuts us to the west and south. My response to that is our proposal is temporary. Our long-term plans are to acquire 3 to 5 acres and build a 3,000 to 4,000 square foot building that would be the permanent site of our temple and ancillary uses. We have reached out to Mr. Thompson. He's not ready to sell acreage from his ground quite yet. The permanent temple site could be at this location or it could be at a different location. But if we do end up acquiring ground here, we would be demolishing the existing residence. The last point I'd like to make in my introduction is that probably the most important, there truly is a need for a Hindu temple in this vicinity. We have some members of that community present tonight that would like to support our petition. Our research has indicated that there are some 350 households within a 2-mile radius site that would benefit from a Hindu temple in this area. By the way, this is not just a petition from Andy Word, and this is a community. I'm going to stop here unless you ask questions. We appreciate you coming out tonight.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll do questions in a little bit. So we'll open, or have staff, do you have a report?
Good evening, for everyone in the audience. Megan Bustich, with the City of Fishers, Director of Planning and Zoning. And we've been working with the petitioner. I was going back to my emails to see when we first connected. I think it was over a year ago, when we began discussions on this parcel. So we have had a lot of back and forth on this particular property. Oops. So this is located on the west side of Cynthia Road. It's highlighted in blue here, north of Southeastern Parkway, just to orient us a bit in the parcel that we're discussing. It's currently zoned R2 residential. So there sits on the property today a single-family home. It's R2. Places of worship are permitted in R2 zoning districts. However, they are required to obtain a special exception before the Board of Zoning Appeals. So what that means is that the use is permitted, but only if it meets special conditions and upon application is specifically authorized by this board. So we've recognized that places of worship in residential areas require some additional thought as they're converting from a residential use to a non-residential use. And so they're not allowed by right just to develop as such, so that certain conditions should be placed on those properties, or at least taken into consideration for that approval. So that's what we're here tonight to discuss, is that special exception on an R2 property. Here's the proposed site plan. So they are planning on keeping the existing home and converting that structure into the non-residential structure. And putting parking in the back, and then also planned for detention. I think this is a high-level concept plan at this point. I don't know how much of the civil has really been undertaken. If it were approved tonight, it would need to go through our technical advisory committee. So full site plan would need to be reviewed for these improvements to make sure that that is in compliance. However, with this site design, the biggest thing that stands out that's of concern for us is that proposed right-of-way line. So Cynthia Ann Road is a primary arterial, and so it requires a 60 half right-of-way. So 60 feet is required from the center line road of Cynthia Ann, and so that puts that dotted line here. This is the new established right-of-way. So you can see that the house sits directly on that new right-of-way line. So, you know, why we're not supportive of this petition is really to convert this property from a residential use to a non-residential use. While some nonconformities are okay, this nonconformity does present a safety concern for us, just with the house being so close to the right-of-way. We don't have any immediate plans to expand the road in this area. However, we could in the future. There's development occurring out on the site of Fishers, and so having the road be that close to the home that's now a non-residential structure is a concern for us. I think that this area in general, I'll go through the presentation because I think we've got some high-level plans of kind of the overall vision for this area. Here's the existing home today. So I understand the petitioner would continue to keep this structure and just convert this to a non-residential use. The property around it, so this site plan is for the property to the south and to the west. So the parcel that we're discussing is right here in relation to this concept plan. So there is a larger commercial development plan for this area. It is zoned that way today. This is the concept plan from that PUD. And so this going from a residential to a non-residential use, we'd really like that to be incorporated into this larger development vision. That is our ideal scenario when we think about redevelopment of this area. They've talked to the developer. It sounds like he's not willing or not interested in purchasing this property. So I think those communications have been made. So that's not necessarily something that anyone has full control of, but that would be, from a planning perspective, kind of where we sit with that. We'd like to see it incorporated into this development. We have received some public comment. So we did hear from 2 Fishers residents that are supportive of the use. They feel like there is a need in our community for this use, and so for that reason, they're supportive. And then Corby Thompson, who's the developer for that property that I just showed, he did reach out and he requested that the petitioner waive any proximity standard for liquor licenses from a place of worship. He was concerned about his future development, not necessarily that he has a planned business, but in case he were to put a business in there, he just wanted to make sure that he wouldn't run into any of those proximity requirements. And my understanding is that the petitioner has agreed to waive that requirement. So for the reasons mentioned, we do recommend denial of this case. It really has to do with the existing conditions and that home being so close to the right-of-way. I think for us, access to that internal commercial development, if and when that does develop, would be preferred, not having access really at all on Cynthia Ann. We understand that this is a temporary use, but it's hard to really define what temporary is. You know, is that 3 years? Is that 10 years? I mean, I don't know if the petitioner could even say. So for those reasons, staff is not supportive of this special exception on this parcel with this proposed site plan.
Okay, thanks. So we'll open up for the public hearing. If anybody would like to get up, you have 2 minutes. Unless you're representing a group, then you have up to 5 minutes. If you have something you want to say regarding the project, and just state your name and your address, please. Go ahead and step up, or you don't have to step up, I guess, since we're Such a small room.
My name is Mani Subramaniam, I live in Fishers. I moved here about 20 years ago. We moved to Sun Lake. I moved from Texas. And my wife really liked the place. We said, we'll settle down. We're looking for a property to buy, so we looked various places. One day we went east along 126. And as she was driving, I was counting. To the left of me, to the right of me, there were about 12 places of worship. At that time, 126 was a very small road, and some of them were quite close as well. And I told my wife, this seems to be a place favored by God. It's really a holy place, and Fisher seems to encourage places of worship here. And for some time, there was no Hindu temple at all. Then one opened up quite some distance away. It's in North German Church Road. We used to go there. Now, I feel that there is a need for Fishers to have a place of worship. When I was a member of the board of trustees of that Hindu temple, we did a survey and we counted around 12,000 Hindu families in this area. That was 10 years ago. Since then, there's been a lot of development, and I'm sure the number is close to around 20,000. So there is a need for people like us to have a place of worship. And your objection, I think we have discussed this, and this is only temporary. As temporary as the road widening is, once that comes up, we will find enough funds to either purchase a new place or shift to some other place. But we do need a place of worship that's closer to our place. One other point I'd like to make is that we worship not necessarily to a particular time. Hindu worship does not necessarily mean there's a service at some time, so everybody goes there. We like to go when it's open, and our form of worship is mainly meditative. So people could be dribbling in ones and twos and worshiping, not necessarily a congregation at a whole time. But if there is a need for a congregation, like all the other churches on this place, we will arrange for some security.
Thanks. Can you do me a favor? Can you state your address real quick for where you live?
11905 Bingos Drive, Fishers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We just have to keep track of that so we can,
Sure.
for the record. Thank you. Anyone else like to step up?
I'll take that up. Hi, my name is Ramesh Krishnamurthy. I live in Carmen. One of the things that what Hindu people do is they worship for everything. They need a priest. We are looking for, like Mr. Ram Subramanian said, there is about like 10 to 12,000 people live here. If it was back in India, we would not even live in a place where there is no temple. Well, since we are immigrated to here. We want to live here in a foreign land, and we made this as a home. We are welcoming when he said that he was going to bring up the temple. So Hamilton County has got like lots of people live here. A lot of Indian people live here. And we've been all looking for a temple around here for quite a while. I used to be a volunteer there in German Church Road. I've done a lot of services out there. I used to be doing a traffic job, working with police officers, getting the traffic cleared and all those kind of things. So if the traffic was a concern out there, I can take care of it. I can do a good job on that one. So this temple means a lot for us. So I plead you guys that you would be considerate about what we want. Thank you. And also, the temple is going to be an attraction for a lot of Indians to move over here. Just like what I think, there are a lot of Indian people who wants to be closer to the temple, so they have an access to that, go into that on a religious occasions. Just go there, worship, meditate, all those kind of things. So it will be really great if we have a temple here in Hamilton County. That's what I want to say. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Well, just like take a minute or so. My name is Prem Pakuri, and I'm from 11611 Kathmandu Fishers. What I would humbly request you to reconsider the denial from staff. basically, if I were to step back and look where I've grown back in India and here, one thing I can compare with this request to temples, probably not a good analogy, is Magdi's. And we know what Magdi's does to a place. It brings not only a place where most of you hang out, but it helps develop the real estate around it, bring in the crowd you need. Similarly, the temple that we're talking here, while I understand the right of the way issue, we don't need a large place. We need a small place where we can meet, meditate, and then get the spiritual and moral support we seek from a higher power. And if that place is as small as this today, and for the right of the way, if we need to cut it to a fourth of this, we are happy to do that. So all I'm requesting is, while this is a temporary arrangement, it can be approved, knowing full well there is a potential future dated expansion plan that could intervene. We can proactively work with the same board to redo or refit as it develops over the next few years. And we all know those plans change over a period of time. So as things evolve, we are more than willing to work. That's my request.
Thank you.
My name is Hemamani. I live in 10079 Bentry Lane, Fishers, Indiana. So, most of whatever the point that they have talked about, definitely I want to echo. But one big point, right, so I want to bring it up, definitely we are not going to, once we get the approval, it's not like we are going to hide it anywhere. We will be pretty transparent with our plan, and definitely we want to work with the team to make sure that we will expose our plan of what was the expansion that we are going to do it. And same way, we want to hear closely that if they are ready to expand and we need to do the changes, as the sir said, that definitely we want to vouch it. So as everyone said, worship place is definitely needed, not only for our generation, needed for the next generation that we have with us, which definitely need looking for to show our culture and spread our culture to our kids. So that's very important for our kids to see and live in the place where they can learn our culture and spread it across. So it's my humble request, see if you can approve this.
Thank you. What else? No pressure. No last one.
Hi, everyone. As a parent of two, I would like my kids to learn this culture, have a place to go. So for important occasions like a festival, or their birthdays, or our wedding anniversary, or something like that, we need a place to go and worship. That's where we go seek our blessings, say thanks to the God, whoever the superpower is. I know that we have a temple here, which is like North German church, so it's a little far for us to go. Like last Feb was my daughter's birthday. She was like totally disappointed because it was like sleeting that day. We couldn't drive that far. I mean, I would really appreciate something closer by, where it will be like a community gathering, meet people, get to know each other, and pray, and like every occasion when we can. Though we really understand the problems associated with this, and you all appreciate the thought of having a worship place for ourselves, but at the same time, we need to like work together to find some common ground, some solution, wherein we can step forward, or you can step a little backward and try to find some solution there. Thank you all.
Thanks. Anyone else?
My name is Venkatesh Ramasubramanian. I live in 10079 Bentry Lane. So pretty much everybody conveyed their opinion as well. Like this is a community, not only like we just wanted to go and worship the place. Apart from that, we just wanted to participate more on the community gathering, and we wanted to provide the community around us as well with much good that we can spread our love with. So it's our humble request for you to kindly like consider the decision to approve the place of worship. And this is going to be just a temporary arrangement, like everybody said. And we would definitely wanted to work with the team to consider what is the proposed plan. And we always wanted to be an open book with our plans, and we always wanted to be we kind of summarize that. So I'm stammering for words right now. Yeah, no, hey, thank you for that. So we wanted to be a law-abiding as well from the community perspective.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kirtivasan Srinivasan. I live in 14466 Brandquist, Fishers, Indiana. And first of all, I want to thank all the city staff that you guys, as Megan said, that we used to work. I just came here to inquire about the property 1 year ago. And then after we purchased the property, I was working with Andy and again, so I'm really thankful for all of the supporters and the law firm and all of your both supporting. So I just received day before yesterday about recommendation from the city that they have denied. So I want to mention one thing. As a priest, I'm a Hindu priest here in Indianapolis. So I live here almost like 8 years. So as they have mentioned, we have only one Hindu temple in North German Church Road. I was a priest from there when the temple was started, the big building. So I was a priest over there until 2021. So after that, because we in a Hindu culture, we used to have all special ceremonies. All the devotees, they used to have some special program, like a special ceremony. As a priest, we used to go to their house and we will conduct the program. So after I came out from the temple where I was working in North German Church Road, a lot of, because I live in Fishers from the beginning. So I used to go to the temple every day, 25 minutes to 30 minutes drive by one way, then I come back to my house. So after I have seen in my experience last 5-6 years, we have a lot of like more than 15,000 families in Fishers area. So I used to, personally, I used to go for the service as a devotee's house. So they have started to requesting, and they just said their concern, like as everybody said, like they have a concern about to go to worship some special days, or in Hindu culture, actually, if they have some happiness, if they have some sadness, if they have some special thing, they want to go to the temple, like for birthday or wedding day or something like that. They used to go to the temple and they want to get a blessing from the God and blessing from the priest as well. So after that, they have started to saying that it's too long to travel from here to temple, like a half an hour here one way. Then it took almost like a 1 hour to 2 hours, but it's too hot for us to go to the temple. Then I have got a lot of our Hindu community support to start the new temple here. So that's where it was started. So I'm really, we had a pre-filing meeting that, as we have mentioned, on the pre-filing meeting, I have already spoke about, I think Ms. King, King Brianna. So she was there on the meeting. So I have already requested her that, of course, it is a very small place to have a Hindu temple. Also, we are really happy to dedicate the right-of-way, as I have mentioned on the application also. We are really happy to dedicate the right-of-way for the city of Fishers. And this temple, not only for a Hindu community temple, as I know, when I was working in a Hindu temple in North German Church Road, they used to have a lot of college students, not only for Hindus. All the college students, they they said, I don't exactly know what exactly. So they said they used to have some religious studies in the college, so they want to come and have some religious study with the different religious cultures and everything. So I have give a lecture to them for a lot of time. So I'm pretty sure that if we have a temple that will be open for everyone, they can come and have a worship, especially for Hindu community. And in the surrounding area, like only in surrounding like a 3 to 4 miles area, I have just mentioned like a 350 families, but after that I have just counted like there is more than 1,000 families, especially on the Hunter and community exactly behind the road in the same Cynthia Road. So also we have already spoke with Corby Thompson. So as she said, like he is not ready to sell the property. Of course, he mentioned that he's working with some city of Westfield or something like that. But what he said is he is not ready to sell the property for now. He did not decide to sell the property for now. As I'm a priest, definitely I will definitely pray to the God in future. We would like to, if he is ready to sell the property, we would like to purchase the property. Or if he is not like to sell the property, definitely, I don't know how long it takes, like 3 years or 5 years, because it's totally brand new organization. We have started just 1 year back. So we want to get some support from the community. If I didn't get any support, if I start the temple without support, they don't come on. So they want to have the temple first. They will come and they will see. People will start to support. Once if I get a financially, if we get a standard, so within 3 years, that's what I have mentioned in the pre-filing meeting too. Within 3 years to 5 years time frame, if we get a permission to have the temple in that area, in that house, so definitely we will try to make fundraise and we will have the additional building parallelly and the next to the old building. If city asks us to win, for example, if the city is ready to develop the road within next 3 years, definitely we will work with the city that whatever they are saying, that if city says, hey, they are going to start the work within next 3 years, definitely we will start to construct the building either near the whatever the city request. If they ask us to demolish the old building, they ask us to build a new building, definitely we will. Because if I want to go with a bank loan, as you guys know that if I want to go with a bank loan for, even though if it is a non-profit organization, I have tried everything actually. So they're just asking, if you have the temple, what about your monthly income for the temple? So basically they're asking monthly income, what you are getting for every month. So without temple, I cannot show everything. To be honest with you, I'm just showing everything that I'm getting as a priest. I don't work anywhere. So this is my full-time job. I don't work any company or anything. This is my full-time job. So if I want to go with a bank loan in future, definitely if we get at least a permission for next few years, definitely we will try to, get some standard with financially, with support of all the devotees and with support of your city of staffs and everyone. So definitely we will try to build the additional building whenever city require us to move with a new building. So until if you guys reconsider about our requesting for the special exemption, and as a board members, I'm really requesting guys, if you guys support us for our project, definitely we will do our best for city of Fishers, and not only for city of Fishers, for all Hindu community and all of city of people those who live. Definitely, we don't pray as Hinduism says. As I'm priest, I just want to mention one thing. In Sanskrit, there is a mantra called Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu, which means the mantra says not only for Hindu community, not only for Muslim community, not only for another community. The mantra says Sarve Janaha. Sarve means for everyone. Sukhino Bhavantu, live happily. So this is what we used to, whatever the ceremony we will conduct in the temple, we will say at the end of the ceremony, we will say Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu, which means everyone has to live happily in this universe. So, as a priest, I'm requesting you guys to support for this temple project. Thank you so much for giving me this time. I'm really happy.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks. I think that's it for the public hearing. Okay, so I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'm going to open up board discussion. You guys have questions? I've got one, maybe a couple here, but I'm assuming the conversation, because it's been a year, you guys have been talking for quite a while. So as you shared, you guys are willing to, use this, get this special use now, but if the road is going to be widened, which is the real issue, right? That's the bigger issue. Like, not where the road currently is, or is it,
I would
is that
say
still an issue too?
But it's really this location for, in keeping the existing house and turning it from a residential to a non-residential use. That's our biggest concern overall.
Yeah.
The right-of-way is a concern, just that non-conformity, approving a new development, that this is a new development.
Yeah.
Changing uses, and not just uses, it's going from residential to non-residential.
Yeah.
That, yeah, it is not best practice to approve a home, and not even a home, a commercial structure that's that close to the roadway.
Yep.
But understanding that it is proposed right of way, that there's not any immediate plans, and I do recognize that.
I just wanted to make sure there was problems with the overall project, not just like if and when the road is, widened. But I get what you're saying. That's good.
I have a question on, I think, your, attorney spoke to, I think I heard, a 3 to 5 acre size lot for future expansion. Is that correct? Did I hear that correctly? And, so if that is your desire, you envision that 3 to 5 acres being the land that's adjacent to this? Is that accurate?
That would be ideal for us. We've approached Mr. Thompson, and he's not ready to sell that amount of acreage at this time. He's not ready to break ground yet, neither are we. But yes, that would be ideal. If not, we seek another location. But we like this general area because of the proximity to the community.
Okay, so, I mean, I'm still dealing with the facts that we have, I guess, then you like this location, but there's not a readily available avenue to add to this parcel as of today, right?
That is correct, yes.
So then that leads into my question to staff. If that is the case, and we can't forecast what the developer would or would not do into the future, is there a scenario in which they could, in the future, build a structure on this lot for the intensity of use that they're looking at that would be acceptable to staff? So, in essence, they do not ever acquire more land. It's this lot, it's this type of intensity of use, and let's say, just for hypothetical, they use this building for 2 or 3 years, and they say, we want to build a new building. Is there a location on this existing lot that they could do so that would be compliant with what you guys have in mind? Or is it the fact that because of the adjacent commercial and the road and the right of way, that maybe this general neighborhood, but not this plot of land, is ideal?
I mean, I think an ideal scenario would be connection to the commercial development to the south and the west, eliminating access off of Cynthia Road, demolishing that home, and rebuilding a structure that's set back appropriately from the proposed right-of-way. Now, I don't know what the parking needs would be, or what the size of the structure, what those needs would be, so it's hard for me to say if.
That was another question, yeah.
But yes, can it be done? Yeah, and I think generally we're okay with non-residential in this area. That's the way it's been zoned around this parcel. we're worried about having an orphaned parcel that isn't a part of that overall development vision.
Okay.
But the access from Cynthia, that's the only access that can serve this site today.
And did I see on your exhibit showing the approved PUD that there was on that PUD, there would be another access point directly to the south of this? I think I thought I counted like 4 of them on the Cynthia Road there. I may have.
Yeah, so there are several access points on Cynthia. The access on Cynthia isn't necessarily the hang-up, it's how close that structure is.
I'm just saying, like, from a concept standpoint, is that written in stone, that PUD, meaning they have approval, if the developer wants to build that, he could have all of those ingress, egress points?
I think it's still subject to engineering's review.
Okay.
If I can make a comment to that, we are open to the permanent building being incorporated into this project. We just don't have a final design here, and we don't have a final design for our project either.
Has there been, probably an ignorant thing to say, but, has there been discussion of moving the structure or demolishing the structure sooner and making a plan to where it's set back towards the back, or kind of incorporating it? Has that been something you've discussed, or has it always been, we need to use just this structure where it is for a certain amount of time? That's the only plan we have.
Yeah, so, for the current house, we are just planning to use for only 7 years. So once, if, for God's grace, if we get a fundraising within the next few years, definitely we'll have parallelly, we'll have additional building. Also, I want to mention that, so during the weekdays, especially again, for the traffic controls, so during the weekdays, because on the left side and opposite, there is a school, of course, there's going to be school traffic. But for our temple, we don't do the service during the school hours. We can, set up the timing instead of having the more traffic with the school timing. So, of course, as he said, like we have more volunteers. They will come forward, as well as if we expecting more traffic during that time, definitely we will hire cops or security to control the traffic if they need it. So definitely we don't disturb with any other traffic people, and we don't disturb with any other publics. I'm pretty sure of that.
So I think one thing that I'm trying to wrap my head around, and maybe you can speak to it, is you guys have mentioned several times temporary, right? That's a very vague term, and we've dealt with previous issues where there have been temporary allowances, and temporary was not defined, and that caused issues down the road. And so one thing I'm trying to wrap my head around is when you look at temporary, conditions change. Maybe financing isn't there, maybe whatever it is, it's unforeseen. And so I'm trying to wrap my head around what temporary means. And then if you are never able to purchase more land, where does that leave you? If hypothetically you were given a 2-year window and said you can use this structure temporarily for 2 years, and at the end of that 2 years, you've not been able to fundraise, you've not been able to purchase additional land, and then what happens?
So, for temporary, I guess, the city have a plan to build the road. They have mentioned on the report 2040 for the city have the expand the road. If you guys can give us a time for at least 3 years, in between 3 years to 5 years, that's what I have mentioned on the pre-filing meeting too. If it is not happen, definitely we will get some fundraise. At least we can go, even if we start to run the temple, definitely we can get a loan from the bank. So based on the organization, that's what my previous organization, which FCBZA temple also, it was on 2006, it was on a small building, like same kind of small building on a closet. So after that, they got a land dedication from the devotees. They have run the temple over there, and they have, as he was a board member for, or he was a HR for me. But So, they have applied the loan and all the Hindu temple, because I have several friends, they also have a Hindu temple in different states. They also got a loan to build the temple. If it is not happen, definitely, at least we want to, if it is not happen down the road, definitely we will see to move somewhere else, either to purchase the land or we can move for the leasing until we get to purchase the land. For sure, if we get a chance to run the temple at least 3 to 5 years time frame for the temporarily, definitely, I'm sure that it happened. That is my, especially as a priest, I have 100% confirmation.
So you're saying you would voluntarily vacate the premises as a temple if?
Yeah, if it is
that
not,
goal was
if
not
it
met?
is not happen within next 3 to 5 years, then definitely, we'll see, either we can go for some lease place or until we get a new land, or we can sell the property, we can go for, even if the property, if I sell the property, definitely, we'll get that money back. Then if we put that money down payment, we can go for, next, maybe 3 years, at least 3 acres, the land, whatever the minimum requirement, definitely, because we, especially as we are thinking to have the new building, not maximum, between 3,000 to 5,000 square foot. As, I know that, for the, worship place, I think per, 2 devotees, there should be a 7-car parking. So based on the city requirement, we will see the, land for future. Definitely, if it is not working, definitely we'll sell the property.
Well, so that was my other question that was gonna be to staff, is so on this lot of developable land, right? So if you take the right of way into consideration, because I think that is, certainly, if right of way extends to the very edge of that property, to me, that footprint is not safe for future use at that location. So the size that he was mentioning, can that be built on this lot with the required parking? Because that gets into, you know,
And I'm sorry, remind me what the size was that was mentioned?
It depends, either the minimum is a 3,000 square foot between, it can be, because we want only have open hall, with some few rooms, and we have to have the stage to, keep the statues. In a Hindu temple, we used to keep the statues to worship the god, so that we believe the god as a statue. So, we want to have like one stage or a few stages here to keep the god, and we want to have the people sit, on the open hall. So we don't need like more rooms or something like that. So it can be, at least, between, 2,500, 3,000, 5,000.
what's the size of the existing structure?
The existing structure,
Roughly, I think, 2,000 square foot. Everything is including
That-
the garage.
Including the garage?
Including the garage.
Because I think we have to, at least to me, I have to evaluate it as what you guys can control today. And you can only control the land that you own today. You can't control whether you can or cannot buy the adjacent property in the future, because that's not been agreed to. It doesn't seem to be, an option that's guaranteed, right? So that's kind of how I'm trying to evaluate this, is based on your use today, your future ideal use on the existing piece of property that it is, and how that, compares to, the safety concerns that staff has brought up with the right-of-way, which I think are considerable. And then the other thing, last thing, and then Joel or whomever may have questions. I've heard people talk about the size of the community, which is great, but that is concerning. I understand your services are a little different than maybe typical houses of worship, but I heard someone speak to a birthday. I don't know, I've been to some birthday parties, there's quite a few people. I don't know if that's like a party or if that's a ceremony with like 5 people, or are there special events that would not be a typical ceremony where you're gonna have 40 people, 50 people in attendance
we're always gonna be limited by the capacity of the main room in the building, like
Yeah.
fire codes.
Okay, well, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, Rich, I'm thinking the same. I mean, quite frankly, you know, we're talking about the downside that if you can't get funding or, I feel like given the support you guys have, I think it's probably gonna be very popular. And the reality is, like, I think you would outgrow this. Like, I'm concerned that it's not the best spot, not only because of the safety, but because of the need for this.
Am I allowed to say something?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
When I left Dallas, there was just one thing. I went back 10 years ago. There were 17 people. Today there are 30 of them. Similarly, Atlanta, Chicago, there was one. You all must have heard that Indians have got highest per capita income. There are over 500 doctors and fishers and this will alone to support the community. And doctors tend to be very generous. A lot of us are IT professionals. We tend to be very generous. So going forward, raising funds and making the temple bigger, either in the current place or finding a better place will not be a problem. I see that as a focal area for us to grow the whole city as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, that's what I was saying is I think I see a huge need for this. And, I think that, I'm just concerned because although we don't need to dig into the whole cost of this infrastructure, but just to put the time and effort into this parking lot, and even if they were like, cool, leave the house right here in the right of way, but if you got 3 to 5 years in and you never got any more land there, there's just such a loss of investment, I think, to even put in this parking lot and invest the time there that I also don't know the current situation, right? I know you mentioned that you can't get donations and things like, I understand, it's like a chicken and egg.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I can get the donation because, if we started the temple, these people have to come and people have to see what exactly we are doing, then only people will start to give the donation.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just saying if you don't get to use it, you need to kind of get it going. So I guess I'm just sharing my concern is like, I just see there's downside if it doesn't work out for some reason and you invest this time and money into this infrastructure and you don't get to stay. Then I'm worried there's also the upside if things really blow up and you don't get extra land and you're kind of grown out of this. Not to mention the fact that it's just not safe in general, given this,
Either way, it's kind of a waste of resources, but no place of worship starts out large, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Whether we outgrow this and build a new one here at this location or outgrow this and move to another location,
Even if city,
the house has to be torn down. So,
even if city asks us to, demolish this one and build a new place over there, either the same size of building, even we are okay for that. So instead of, moving with another place, we can just have the same land. We can just, for example, city asks us, okay, this land you cannot build for 3,000 square foot or 5,000 square foot. You're only able to build like a 2,500 square foot or 3,000. We are okay with that one. So we can use the same place instead of moving with a different one.
Is there any requirements for parking? Like, I mean, what if it takes off and there's all these cars there, or what would they do? I mean, they park on the grass currently, or what is the requirements for asphalt or?
Yeah.
And your request for this is you would build this parking lot and renovate this house for use immediately?
Yes, that's what, our goal is, at least, as we have mentioned, that, at least we need time to build the parking lot. For example, if we get approved from next for 6 months or 1 year to, collect the money to invest the parking lot, for example. Because even, I don't know, I have, worked with, some contractors, they have given me the numbers, so this is what the numbers is going to be. if you want to build the parking lot same way. So I have worked with a site plan officer to the engineer, so he have provided me the numbers and everything. So that's what I'm working with, get the fundraising. Even everything is ready, so only the thing is we have to, renovate the place and, have some fun. Until for that, if you guys allow us to, make the park and the, gravel parking or the basic parking lot within next for 6 months or 1 year, definitely we will, build the parking lots over there.
And are you guys you're doing business in there now? I mean, you guys are holding some kind of, you're not doing anything there now?
Nothing.
Okay,
It's just empty building.
okay.
So we just want to, get the permission from the city, so until we don't want to do anything.
Gotcha.
Was there any communication with Corby Thompson, the owner or developer, about granting some type of easement for future connection, internal connection to the south?
We hadn't gotten that far. He has not even agreed to sell us any property yet, but that would be.
Talking about like an easement that stubs to that
Because
development.
that sounds like a big concern of yours, is that, to have internal connection only. And so I didn't know if there was ever, consideration of, okay, if and when that develops, here's an easement for a stub with the agreement that the Cynthia access would go away, 100%. To their comment regarding an allowance of, I think you said 6 months up to a year of temporary use of the gravel, is there precedent for that?
Does that time limitation?
To allow a gravel lot for that long of time before while it's being used?
We have not to my knowledge, have we, allowed that in the past. We just don't allow gravel typically.
Is there a time frame for the other development?
To be honest, so I have seen several places they have gravel parking, so that's why even I don't know I don't know anything. So I was working with go drive around the area. I was just checking that if someone have that, so we can request that one. So I have seen someone have the gravel parking or some different kind of parking. I don't know even exactly what exactly it is. So that's what I'm requesting today.
Is that something you would be able to commit to doing instantly before occupying, is a parking lot?
Yes.
Not gravel, I mean a paved parking lot.
Parking lot.
Like before you were allowed to use it for the,
And that would be a requirement. Just that is a requirement.
Yeah, otherwise, that's a separate variance.
Okay, so that's kind of what I was getting, is there precedent for allowing it to be used with a gravel lot for a time before it's being occupied? So the answer is no.
Yes, what you'd have to do in that circumstance is prove the use, which is the special exception. There would have to be a separate variance for that parking lot, because that's a separate part of the code. That issue has not been noticed.
Would that go to this board?
Or it would come right back to here,
would.
but it would be separate public notice and separate hearing, just the parking issue.
Okay.
Is there an exception just from historically that you do put a time limit on something that says within 2 years, or
I'm
if
thinking
a
of
developer wants to go in 1 year, if he says, it's time, I'm gonna start doing this, they're only 1 year into it, but they wanna change the road and do all the stuff, you can say either the time frame that we established or when a developer wants to develop.
Sure. As a condition of approval, you can put any condition that reasonably relates to the approval that you're granting. So if you wanted to say, for example, this facility can be used for worship services until the road gets widened, or for a period of 2 years or 3 years, or until some other event occurs, you can put that as a condition. The petitioner then has to, if they want to use it, they have to accept the condition that you place on them.
Something of the Tezos toys, I don't know if you recall that, where that was like a temporary use but there was not a defined time frame, and that
Correct.
created a whole slew of issues downstream.
Yeah, we would want clear enforceable time restrictions if that was going to be something considered.
And if we did that, just to be clear, the next thing they're doing is applying for a variance for that parking lot.
You're correct.
So,
If it's gonna be gravel.
so if we approve the special use, they just can't use it until the pavement's there, or they would have to come in and do a variance for the gravel, if they're trying to do something in between, okay?
Well, I think, did you say that they would have to go through a full construction review process, even as a temporary use, correct?
Yeah, so we would not consider this temporary. They may be using it as temporary, but we would view these as permanent site improvements that are being
Permanent
made.
site improvements, any stipulation that we would put in temporary overlays that,
That's just for the use.
yeah.
I'm sorry. As we have spoke 1 year back, so I have asked you about the gravel parking. So you have mentioned on 1 year back, I remember that we both met at the old office. So you have mentioned that even if board approves for the gravel parking, so it's totally up to both hands. So I cannot say anything. So you said like, even if board approves for the gravel parking for the temporary. So I just want to, I'm really sorry for asking you. So,
Separate variance.
yeah, so even still, if it is a gravel parking to, have that one for temporary, still has to be separate variant?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so from my understanding is that this is only for the use, which you still couldn't use it once if we were to approve it, it still could not be used, is that correct? And then they would still have to go in for a variance for the parking,
Mhm.
and then that would come back here for a separate decision, a separate advertised public hearing is what I think I understood.
Or if you just skip,
Separate matter than what we're discussing.
or if you just skip the gravel and just waited till you could pay it, but you just couldn't use it until it's paid, right? If you didn't want to ask for a variance, which I know doesn't sound like that's your plan, right? So,
Even until for that, we can't use, the parking on the lawn, on the backside.
No, if this was gonna go to a non-residential use, it would need to meet non-residential development standards. Any deviations from those standards would have to come back before this board for a separate variance.
I'm just asking until we get for the variance of, parking less for the gravel.
No, our code does not allow parking unless it's on a paved surface. So you're asking, could you temporarily park on grass until you,
Until we get
that
a
is not allowed.
park on the lawn.
Yes,
mhm.
that is not allowed.
Yeah, you would have to settle that other matter. So if that's gonna create a bind, I mean, that's something to consider. If you're not gonna be able to, if we approve this and you need to use the gravel to get people coming and get donations up to do the parking lot, you're gonna have to count
Yeah,
on getting the other
Yeah,
variance.
I'm okay with that. If I wanna go with, the variance for the gravel parking for next additional variance, definitely I'm okay with that.
Okay. You guys have any other questions right now?
Just to be frank, I have difficulty with that one. Just coming back for the second variance, I'm just being upfront, that would be more of a block than a temporary use kind of thing.
We did not start it yet, so we have waiting, almost we have, waited for 1 year. So, since, last year, I think July 2022, still the building is empty, so I don't want to even, do anything on the building without, getting a permission with the city. So I don't wanna, to be honest with, everyone, so I don't wanna do anything on the city without permission. That's what, even it takes another 2 months, to, wait, even, that'll be very great for us. Even we have to do some work over there. So if we get a permission, for usage of special exemption, and that time we can use, that will be very helpful for us to raise the fund, because we did not even start to ask, fundraising. We did not even organize any fundraising program until, I don't want to disappoint, the community that, we are going to start the temple over here, but the word is already spread all over Indiana. So, but still officially, we did not, announce it yet. So if we want to announce as a fundraising program, so I want to have the permission with a, city approval, as a board of members or city staff support, then only we will arrange the, fundraising program. So if we get a time frame, like a 2 months, 3 months, if the variance take 2 months, 3 months time frame, definitely, will be okay for that. So on that time frame, we will use to renovate the area.
Let me ask you a question on that, because what, if you are denied the gravel, where would you guys be kind of stuck then if you got the special use where you could use it, but you came back and the variance for the gravel was denied? So you weren't allowed to start using it until it was paved? Because that's my, concern. Is that,
That's what I was trying to.
Yeah, I don't wanna get stuck in
I was
that.
being transparent about, is I would have issue with that not conforming to a paved parking lot and being used. So if you were to come back to the board and you could not commit to paving that parking lot prior to use, I think that would be as much of a hill to climb as requesting a temporary use.
What I'm requesting you that, maybe if it is, the number of people, we can cancel the number of people based on the numbers, we can give up. Okay, we can cancel the number of people. Based on that, if the minimal parking lot, if city asks us to put the paved parking lot, right now we have like a 30 to 40 parking lots we have mentioned, with the basic number of people. So if the city asks us, okay, you have to, you have to have the parking lots, like at least, for 15 parking lots for, definitely you have to have the parking lot over there. If city asks us to do that, definitely, instead of paying big money, it doesn't matter, it's not a big matter to, collect the fund to have the parking lot until for, if, as Steve said, like, if the gravel parking lot is rejected, then definitely we have to work with, have the paving parking lot, at least the bare minimum what exactly city requirement for that area.
on that point, so Megan, are the parking spaces driven by the square foot of the property?
For a place of worship, it's actually based on the number of seats that are inside that. For their place of worship, we probably work with them on, what makes the most sense.
Okay.
What's the ratio of seats per spaces on typically?
I think it's like 3 parking spaces per 10, something like that.
Okay.
So could they pave a small parking lot off to the side that has 10 spaces and wait for the bigger thing, just so they can have fundraising, people come in and meet and go through their plans and say stuff for a short amount of time, and say then they pave the rest of the parking lot after a certain amount of time?
We would not allow gravel surface.
I mean,
Period.
asphalt, like if they did a 10 space asphalt
If
surface.
they wanted to reduce the parking size but pave it,
Yeah.
then yes, they could do that as long as it was within those allowances.
Right.
So currently, the only thing they could do there is remodel and park the number of cars that fit in the gravel lot or the driveway currently. The only thing that they could presently do now is remodel, if they were gonna remodel, and park however many cars fit in that stone driveway. Is that true?
So right now, they would only be allowed to use it as a home. I mean, that's what is allowed today.
It's not a permitted use as a house of worship. They could not use it as is based on existing parking.
Correct. Yes.
And we would be willing to, after talking to my client here, we would be willing to phase that parking if we need to, based on the number of seats in our main meeting room, if it comes down to a cost issue.
If we were to put a temporary time frame on it, when does that clock start? Does it start today, or does it start when they have a certificate of occupancy, or?
That's up to you. I mean, you would say 2 years from whatever point you want to call that kind of restriction.
And we would also, the condition would be, like, if we gave a favorable recommendation or whatever we're doing approving, I guess, we could just say with only so many spots, 10 spots, or would I'm just wondering if there's a place for, sorry to interrupt, I was just gonna say, I wonder if there's a place for, like, punting this to, like, take this feedback in the parking lot thing and
Approval conditional.
come back.
Conditional upon approval of compliant paved parking lot, something like that.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, so we either, if we did approve it today and put some kind of condition on the parking so they could deal with, or is there a play where we like don't vote, nobody makes a motion to vote, and are they done? Or can they come back with a different plan, or like,
Well, I mean, you could table this if you choose as a board to have this heard at your next meeting.
but that's only if we have like some kind of impasse on the parking, I mean, if we're like,
So if you take no action today, then it's deemed as though it was, variance was not approved, the special exception was not approved. And then the petitioner has to come back with a variance request that is dramatically different than what they're presenting now, which is highly unlikely because what the use is, they won't use it.
That makes sense. I didn't know you guys already offered to.
Tabling is being paused.
Cabling is just hitting pause. Where you guys would say, we're gonna table this for a month and come back next month and show us the plan for the parking and show us the plan for whatever. If that's what you choose, then you pause for a month. Let the temple work with Megan and staff for another month to answer the questions that you all have, and you come back and make a decision.
I want to mention one thing. So even if there is a parking lot, if, for example, if you guys are expecting, give us 10 parking lots or something like that, definitely we will try to have, if we want more parking lots, we will try to rent the parking lots, because right across the street we have a school. That's what we used to do in a Hindu temple over there. So we used to get the parking lot because.
I don't know that is the same thing. I don't know that meets the requirement though, because
Okay,
because
sorry.
there's not like a pedestrian crossing or.
Sorry.
That would take another variance.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this
Part of
is.
the issue is we don't have the final numbers on the construction yet.
Sure.
I think as we were talking here, if the parking lot becomes so costly that we can't do it all at once, we're willing to phase that. Do say the south half first, limit the number of seats in that main sanctuary, and then do the second phase. There really isn't any other way to configure this parking lot. It's such a small lot.
I know, and that's part of the problem, is it's such a small lot, right? I mean, I think that's kind of where I'm conflicted, is I don't know that this is the best use for this particular piece of property. At the same time, I think you guys should be, I'm excited for you guys to have a facility here in the city. I mean, it's great for you guys to have that opportunity at the same time. So I think we're trying to work out what's a possible solution here that.
So we're certainly open to a time commitment where we can come back and report to the board where we're at, if they need to ask for an extension.
We're talking about the parking lot. Is that detention up there to the north of that parking lot?
But I was,
Is that
Limited to one.
another thing that is,
That is conceptual.
It has not been reviewed.
okay,
It's a place, I think that the size and location is conceptual.
because I'm just looking at the parking lot and then the structure, and you take the portion of the land of the right of way out, and then you have impervious surface coverage maximums.
Have you guys talked to the county? This is unincorporated, so detention would be under their jurisdiction. I just know that this would be with the right-of-way dedication, it's gonna be less than an acre, so I guess I was just curious, has your civil engineer discussed drainage requirements with the county yet?
I don't believe he has. We were kind of trying to get a concept plan. And if we need detention, that's where it could go.
I kind of feel like it needs to get to a point where another plan is drawn up with some of these questions answered, and a plan of 10 spots that can be fundraising, can be done with these people, but then they'll bring it back saying, this is the new plan with the 10 spaces, and that we can bring people in. This is what we would do with our detention pond. This is what we would do with building the rest of the asphalt on phase 2. And, because I thought the asphalt was just part of the whole plan today. I was worried about the building being too close to the road, and the lot in the back was just a shoe-in, like, that's what you were gonna do.
Yeah.
And so with that being like, we don't even know if that's happening, I would say, I'm now okay with saying it's, you know, having you have this place to do your fundraising and have a temple and, but the rest of it's up in the air. I would like definite answers, like, this is what we planned, this is what we're gonna do, these are the spaces we need at first, and this is what we have the money to do, because if you don't have the money to put the whole lot in the back, then we're kind of stuck anyway. Like, even if we approve it, there's no, there was a gravel lot conception, so.
Now, the house is, until the road expands, the house is not close to the road actually. So once the road is expanded until the right of way is closed.
Yeah.
So, so we have like a more space from the road to the house.
Yeah, and I'm fine now with that. Like, after this meeting is fine, but then now I'm thrown off by the parking lot. So I think that's what I just wanna hear, that we can.
Parking lot, if you guys, give some conditional approval for the parking lot, hey, you have to have the parking lot, at least the minimum parking lot within next 1 year or something like that, definitely,
But I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, what I'm hearing from staff is it can't be within the next year. It has to be before it's used as a facility. It cannot, from what I'm understanding, it cannot be used as a facility until that is, even if it's a minimum, even if it's a smaller parking lot that's paved, until that is completed. Here in our conversation, I mean, I think what we're trying to say is maybe this should be tabled and brought back to us with a different concept showing a smaller parking lot that is based on the requirement of the building at its current size. If we're going to entertain a temporary timeframe use to allow you to do the fundraising necessary, then the things that are going to be required for that use, I think we want to see.
Yeah, and we could chew up a lot of time before you're even using the building.
Yeah.
Out of that
Put that time on it, that clock starts, and then you're out there, you know, doing those fundraising efforts and construction efforts, that's eating into that temporary timeframe.
Honestly, if I wanna have the fundraising over there, first I want to have, some basic stuff should be ready. So for the basic stuff, you know, have to have some little modification for those kind of things. But still, for that, I'm expecting for the approval. So even without approval, I don't wanna do any, like a big changes.
Yeah, I think we understand that. I think we're just saying that maybe, I mean, I would think understanding that the gravel, like, can't be used, and there's been some new information given today, right? Like, so planning might be affected with that. I'm just curious if, from a business perspective, I don't know what the investment is in the infrastructure and the time frame you would have to wait to raise the money and do the infrastructure before you could even start using it. I just don't, and I'm not advising you, I'm just thinking out loud here, that I would be considering raising money to put a down payment on a property that's more already conforming, that's already, you know, that might be usable as is, or might not, maybe a better space. I mean, it might, I know you like this general location, and maybe you have to give on that a little bit, but you might be able to find a facility that's closer to what you need, or doesn't require these kinds of uses, or doesn't have like a 3-year trigger to tear the building down. You know, you're gonna be a, I just don't want you guys to make too many concessions and adjustments and have too many deadlines, and there's too much moving parts here, and then you kind of get going, and then things take off, you know what I mean? And then you're stuck, because you agreed that if the road widens, you're tearing the building down.
Yeah.
And you agreed that you're gonna pave before you start using it, and you agreed you might be confining your guys. I'm just thinking out loud as I think through this. Because of all those reasons, I just don't think it's, plus the staff's, you know, opinion on this. I just don't think that I'm gonna be ready to approve this tonight. I don't think I'm.
County, like conversation with the county about bringing it.
Yeah, all that. I just,
Do you guys have a civil engineer hired right now that you're working?
We do.
Okay. So it might be good to engage with them and the other plan reviewers that are gonna have to review the site design. Maybe even have the civil engineer attend a future meeting if the board decides to continue this a month or table it. I think what I'm hearing is that you guys really want a little bit more details and finality to the design of the plan before you're able to make it.
I'm not inclined to approve something with all these open because I know it's gonna be real, like if I had to choose now, I'm not gonna approve this. I'm gonna vote to not approve it.
Your concern is pretty much about the development behind this new building.
Well, my bigger,
Jamel,
I was on the fence about whether we should approve this given the right of way and the main issue, but now hearing that this, being able to pave this is, I think there's a timing issue, right? Like, you wanna start using it to raise donations and get fundraising but you can't till you get it paved, so it's kind of I just feel like maybe there was new information introduced into that might affect the church's plan.
chicken and egg situation here.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking, is like, and I think maybe they've spent so much time thinking about it, but now there's new information and they just get this done and I can go home and they think, oh crap, now we gotta,
Right.
now we gotta pave this and we can't do it, and
If
I
a
think-
motion can be made, or if you have any other questions, then I would say that's the question, but, and the options would be continuance versus tabling. Can you maybe, what's the difference between those two?
There isn't.
There isn't a difference?
Same,
You're gonna,
same
you're
thing,
gonna
two different.
continue, you're gonna continue the hearing to your next working schedule. The only piece of advice I would give before review is that you really only get to discuss this in the public forum.
yes.
So if your choice is to table this for the evening, then discussions will continue between Megan and Ross and staff, petitioner. You guys have to stay out of those discussions until we're back in the public forum.
I haven't seen him since October, so.
I drive by your house, I run,
If your inclination is to table this, I think it'll take us 60 days rather than 30 to get the
Do
information.
we set the time frame for tabling it, or do we just say tabled until petitioner is ready for?
If you're gonna continue it, you should continue it to a date certain, because then that's gotta be publicly noticed, so that the public would know when you're coming back to hear this time.
Okay.
are you guys comfortable with 60? And if we say 90, are they allowed, can we come sooner if everybody's ready?
You can
You
go,
have to
you can,
pick the date.
yeah, you gotta pick the date, so, because it's a public hearing, so you gotta have the public.
But if we say 60 and they're still not ready and they want to punt it to the following month, is that allowed?
That's at your discretion as well.
Okay. We're trying to give you that flexibility, just, not, seems like there's some unknowns here.
Yeah, if you guys are saying 60, I wouldn't have a problem with being requested to add more to it. I just don't think we want to set it too short.
Right, yeah, we're dependent on other professionals there to get us some answers.
So, please let me know what exactly do we have to, what are the things you guys really need, like the needed parking, design, what other,
I think we would need to know what the parking lot that you can pave, what funding you have to pave the parking lot, what that looks like. So if this is not a realistic plan of what can be paved, then showing what that phased approach looks like. And then a better understanding of the detention design. Is detention needed? And is that going to be enough detention to accommodate that? So having those conversations between your civil engineer and the county, who's gonna approve that detention. Or do you guys want any other things
Yeah,
addressed when they come back?
I think it would also behoove you to at least have a conversation about an access easement of some kind with the internal property that would ultimately eliminate that Cynthia Ann Road access. And I think that would alleviate some of the concerns with
Are we talking about for the temporary facility? or-
No. permanent facility. So if and when, you guys, time's up, you're building your new building and, that new access would be internal to whatever would develop to the south as opposed, if that exists, if that new development were to happen. And-
Rich, are you talking about putting a cross-access easement, just the easement, establishing the easement at this point.
Which would be their control, because that's the land they own. But I think it would behoove them to at least have a conversation with the developer about that. If they're gonna do that easement, is there a certain spot that would make more sense than another spot?
Understood.
Easement for,
So if there was gonna be a driveway access to the development, that, the other commercial development, where that.
There is gonna be the drive access
What's
in
that?
the, I mean, come again, please, I'm sorry.
So our preference is if there's an internal drive with that development, for there to be a future connection made with that development. So it's just having that conversation with the developer to say what realistically makes sense on where that access should be.
Can I ask a question, Megan? If we were to come back with a permanent facility on, say, 3 acres, 4 acres, 5 acres at this site, would that not trigger another approval process?
Just with the new structure shown on the site plan?
Well, it would be everything torn up here and a new permanent building.
If this were approved or just coming back in 90 days or 60 days
No, I'm talking about
in the future?
that you approve it tonight or whenever.
So that, I mean, the approval is subject to the concept plan that's presented, correct?
Yeah, so you're talking about rather than do this special exception, which is before the board tonight, you come back with just to forget the special exception, we want to just
No,
construct.
I'm trying to address this gentleman's concern about the access easement, and how do I phrase this question?
You're saying that access easement would be dealt with if you came back with a new concept for a brand-new building in the future, as opposed to dealing with that right now?
Yes, my fear is I go to Corby and ask him about the access, I haven't even agreed to sell you the ground yet.
I'm just trying to think of all
So-
avenues of.
We would certainly be open to.
Anytime we see development occur with undeveloped land surrounding it, we require stubs to that development in the future, regardless of approval from those adjacent property owners. So that's a requirement. If you can look at subdivisions that have farmland next to it, they all have these road stubs because we anticipate future connections being made. And so what we're asking, instead of stubbing an actual road to that undeveloped land, just providing that easement for that potential future connection. I think that's what you were
That's exactly
requesting.
right.
We just want to know that you planned for it in your
An
plan.
easement to benefit, from us to benefit.
It would be an easement on your property that would stub over to the undeveloped land to serve both lots. It's a cross-access, so it would serve both.
This is where the future drive connection drive would go, in essence.
Yeah, we just don't want you to rework the plan and come back having not thought about that. And then the plan would violate, you know what I mean, like there's parking spaces right where that stub would naturally go. Does that make sense? Just, I think you just want the thought,
Yeah, or, yeah, and the reason
knowing
I-
it's
the only
probably
reason I-
gonna happen.
Yeah, and the reason I mentioned the developer is because if you put your stub over on this corner, and he's like, no way, I have a building that I plan on putting there. If you told me it could go on the other side, that would have been more amenable to connecting over there. That's just-
My only fear is his plans could change over.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
And it's just an easement.
Yeah.
Right, we're not asking for the actual construction. But I think our fear is that it's
Planning.
gonna develop around here, and then we're gonna have it, if this is temporary and you guys have to relocate, what does this look like then for this kind of outlot,
Okay.
long-term? So we're thinking 20 years from now, what this is.
60 days from now, you just want the conceptual easement shown on our property.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Gotcha.
And a realistic paved parking plan
Yes.
to phase that out.
So even for the 60 days, if we come back, we don't get a timeframe to have gravel parking lot. I mean, just curious, I'm just asking. I don't know.
That would,
If you wanted a gravel parking lot, you would need to file a new variance request.
Okay,
So it'd be a completely separate application that would come before this board. So we could have them come at the same time, but you would need to file a new application.
okay, but it
I
can
think
be done at the same time when we are coming for next 60 days, if we are coming for, with all new changes. At the same time, can we, request, I mean, for example, if the parking lots, minimum parking lots needs to be done for 15 parking lots, like paved parking lots, it has to be done, for example, you guys are saying 15 parking lots. The rest, can we have, gravel parking? For that, we have to have the variance. That's what you're saying, right? Okay, yeah. Okay,
And they have time, 60 days is enough, right, to get that going?
And then file that.
And they'd be separately approved.
okay.
I mean, we could prove, we might prove the use and not the gravel, but. Yeah, so I think, so I would move to continue this for 60 days. There a second?
A second.
Do we need a roll call or should we?
I just want to confirm though, the date of that 60 days, just for noticing requirements. So that would be July 27th is when this would come back. That's 2 months from today.
Is that our scheduled meeting?
That is scheduled meeting.
Okay, yeah, I was just getting ready to look that up.
I'm fine with that date.
Are you ready for a roll call? Mr. Bassett?
Yes.
Mr. Fenske?
Yes.
Mr. Richards?
Yes.
Mr. Hutt?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you in a few months.
Thank you so
Yes.
much again. I really
Yeah,
appreciate
good
you
luck on the
guys'
planning.
help. Yeah, thank you so much. I wish.
Cool. All right.
You guys again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Yep.
Thank you.
So, do we have any staff communication? Any findings of fact that we need? Nothing with this, right? Okay. Adjourned. Have a good evening, guys.
Thank you.
I think I've been 1 or 2 minutes late before. I've never been like 10 minutes late before.
It's, that is not your fault.
69 is a parking lot.
Well, I'm just across 160,
Yeah.
it took me 45